Hi there, beautiful beings. How are you feeling today? So in this beautiful video, what keeps coming up, as well as what we spoke of in the previous video, is that what we think of consistently, constantly, is what we are creating in our reality. And in this video, we want to make you aware of that, because this is how the journey began for me. Especially in Your Past is a Gift, once I started writing it all down, it just became so clear to me. I began looking at, okay, at this point in my life, at this particular time, I was observing what had shown up for me in that moment. Say, for example, in my first depression. In my younger years, I'm going through my first depression. I'm surrounded by beings, my family, my loved ones. I had a partner at the time, and I thought he was the one. My soul partner. I was going to grow old with him. You know, I was with him when I went through my first depression, that I no longer wanted to be here alive in this lifetime. I was done. I was done with pain. I was done with suffering. I was done with all of it. So when I observed that experience, I really went to look at it. I was looking at my thoughts at the time. What was I thinking consistently every day? What was I thinking? And when I traced it back, all the thoughts were about not being good enough. Not being good enough for my mum. And if I'm not good enough for her, I'm definitely not good enough for him. Because if I can't be loved by the being that brought me into this world, how can I be loved by anyone else? These were the thoughts that were going on round and round in my mind. And at the time I was going to university, I was studying chemistry. And I remember being in my third year of chemistry. This was just slightly before my depression. And I was sitting in class one day and I was thinking, why am I doing this? And then all those thoughts came up. Oh, there's a belief within me that if I complete this, I am smart enough to be with my partner. I am good enough to be with my partner. And I remember packing up my bag that day, all my books, walking home, and that was the end of that. Because in that moment, I realized, no, this is not what I want. I want to be loved for me, for who I am, not for the titles I have, not for the diplomas I have that I can put up on my wall. That's not who I am. My intelligence has nothing to do with completing this degree. It doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything to me to complete that. I realized it was not going to make me feel good enough, because it didn't come from there. It didn't come from being smart or not smart, or smart enough. That not being good enough was already there when I was little. And at the time, I was really smart. I'd started kindy and I was already reading books, which, you know, now when I look at it, because I used to assist in the kindergarten classes here, and none of the kids could read. They were just learning how to put words together, like very small words like cat or dog. Very small words. And I was reading books that were for like year 1, year 2, already full sentences, full stories. I don't know where I learnt to read. I know that during the day when Mum and Dad were working, because I know for a period of time my dad was a bricklayer, so he was always working during the day and he wouldn't come home till like 6 o'clock at night. But I do know that for a period of time my mum was working in the factories during the day. You know, I think at one time she was working at Bonds, the Bonds factory. You know, they make undies and socks and all that sort of stuff, They do t-shirts, but singlets. It was mainly underwear at the time. And so she'd work through the days, and they left me with these neighbors that were Aussies. I remember her telling me about these beautiful Aussies that would mind me for a while. So I'm guessing maybe I learnt to read with them. You know, I don't know, but I know that I was already reading before I started school. So I know and I was really good at school. You know, it was something that for me was so easy because I loved learning. I wanted to learn about this world. It was a fascination, a passion, if you like, that was already there as a little one. It wasn't something that anyone had to tell me to do it. I just did it. I loved it. And so I was already that when the love was withdrawn because my sister was born. You know what I mean? So I already knew it had nothing to do with if I was smart or not smart, this not being good enough. It came from somewhere else, you know. I know it was the experience I came to have, but it had nothing to do with whether I was smart enough or not. For others, this may be, you know, where we feel that we're not enough when parents treat us like we're idiots, like we're stupid, like we can't learn. I've seen this, you know, with so many beings. So, you know, I've witnessed it. And so because they're constantly treated like they're stupid, like they can't learn, then that becomes their thing of enough. They're not smart enough. That's their enough bit. You know, they're not good enough because they can't learn. They're not smart enough. And therefore they can't be loved. It always comes back to that because that's what we yearn for more than anything else in the world. It's not about proving that we're smart enough or not, or that we're not stupid, or whatever it is that we've taken on. Wherever it is that we feel we're not enough has everything to do with, oh, because I'm not enough, I can't be loved. This is the reason these beings can't love me, because in some way I am not enough. And they've pointed it out thousands of times in your childhood. And this was the experience you came to have. Always remember that before jumping into, I am a victim, they did this to me. Always remember your soul chose this. Because on this channel, we are not here to be victims. If anything, we are here to realize the truth of who we are. And you cannot be a victim if you chose this experience. You chose it. It's like going up to the ice cream shop and saying, you know, I've been eating vanilla ice cream now for the past 3 or 4 years, right? It's all I've allowed myself to taste. I want to try something new. Give me some chocolate ice cream. And then you taste the chocolate ice cream and you don't like it. And so you decide you made the wrong choice. Therefore, I'm a victim. They gave me the chocolate ice cream. Yes, but you asked for it. You chose it. You wanted that experience. When you get this, when you completely, totally get this within your being, everything will shift for you. Every course that we have created is about moving you out of being the victim, being able to see yourself through the eyes of your soul, of how precious you are to your beautiful soul, for the experience you have allowed it to have, because it can only have it through you in this human form. Last night, I don't know why, but my husband decided he wanted to watch Amadeus, you know, the story of Mozart, the movie. I don't know how much of the movie is true, you know, how much was fabricated to make it into something more interesting. I do believe that perhaps he struggled with money, you know, financially he struggled. And again, it was a mismanagement of money, just like we have been doing our whole lifetimes. It's not that there isn't enough money. It's just we spend more than what comes in. So it's not managed correctly, you know. We want to live this lifestyle that's beyond our means at the time. you know. And I was watching his struggles, you know, of not being able to, you know, they're saying that he wanted to teach pupils because that was the way that they made money on the side when they weren't creating their beautiful, you know, masterpieces for the emperor or whoever. So he wasn't allowed to do that, you know, because he was so promiscuous, I think is the word, you know, when they're naughty and they're into women and all that sort of stuff, which makes sense, you know. So there was that, which was part of the story. Again, I don't know how much of that was true, but I was just observing the human experience because I thought even if that wasn't exactly his story, it was someone's story. Someone has had that lifetime, you know, of being a genius in some way, somehow having genius levels for something, struggling financially. I mean, that's not too far-fetched when most beings on this planet have been coming for centuries to struggle financially. And then to have died in poverty. And yet, when I'm observing this beautiful story as it's unfolding, the person telling the story was financially well off. More than well off. But he was miserable because he was being, every day he was being eaten up by this envy that this person had this gift, this talent, and he didn't. So he couldn't enjoy the financial gain that he had, his wealth. His struggle was his envy. So no matter which way you looked at the money side of things, you know, for one person, it made them miserable that they were financially struggling. They didn't have the money to have the lifestyle that they desired. The other being had the lifestyle. He had more than enough wealth. But he didn't have that gift. And so he was miserable. And in his mind, why would God give him this gift? He kept seeing him as less than, because he was promiscuous, because he was a drunk, because he was all these other things. He had so many judgments around this being. In his mind, he had the idea that, well, you know, if God gives you a gift, you must look a certain way. You must behave a certain way. There must be a seriousness about you. And when we do this, when we have all these judgments around another being, we cannot enjoy fully what it is that this being is trying to bring forward into this world. So many beautiful spiritual beings, you know, that have developed their spiritual gifts. They try to share, but because they don't look like a spiritual healer, they struggle. You know, within themselves, they struggle that, well, I don't look like Jesus or Buddha. I'm not this monk, you know, totally Zen all the time. I look like this. And so because they have that underlying in their subconscious, other people pick up on this. Other beings, and they, you know, oh no, they don't look like a spiritual being. You know, Jesus wouldn't say that, or Jesus wouldn't do that, or they're constantly comparing because that's what that spiritual being is doing. But what if, my beautiful beings, you were made so different that people would see past all their judgments and just see, just allow the information to come through, no matter what you look like, no matter what you sound like, no matter how you dress, No matter what your hair looks like. It doesn't matter if you're you've decided to change your gender. None of that matters. If you're gay, not gay. Spirit chose you to speak up, to share, to be yourself fully as you are, different. One, because your differences will resonate with other beings that are like you. That's actually the most important thing. But for me, as I was watching this movie last night, yes, I could sit there and judge. Oh, Mozart was a drunk. Oh, he was a womanizer. Oh, he was this. Oh, he was that. And then I wouldn't have been present to the music that he brought into the world. He came to have those experiences. If he struggled financially, he came to have that experience. What is it like to have this incredible gift with no limits? No limits to what he could create. It's incredible, the music he left. When you consider that he was only here for 35 years. It's amazing, the work, the music that he left behind in such a short lifetime. But when I listen to a piece of music, be it Mozart, be it Beethoven, be it whoever it is, I don't sit there and stop to think about the person that brought it through. To me, it's all spirit. And how beautiful that this is possible. Look at what we can create as a human being in all our limitations. It is incredible what we are capable of. And I sit and I listen to each note, and each note is exquisite. Each note is spirit. So next time you're judging someone, either a musician, a spiritual healer, whoever it is that's bringing something beautiful forward, stop yourself. Stop yourself for a moment and listen to the message, listen to the notes, listen to the music. How does it make you feel? Does it resonate? Does it lift you up? Then what does it matter where it comes from, who it comes from? Spirit is speaking to you through that being. All right, my beautiful beings. We love you guys. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the messages. And we'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye for now.